So I think UTS have got that nice balance of being top 100 university, but really work-relevant, practical, pragmatic way of delivering the courses. Very hands-on. Yes, the equipment here is just staggering. I was over in the design faculty the other day and watching a 3D machine that did 3D printing. It could scan you and print you a jumper if you wanted, better than Mum used to knit. So this is the labs and what they've got is just absolutely outstanding. So forging its place in the world, but not losing sight of its roots about it being a work-ready university.
G'day. Welcome to the Choosing Your Uni podcast. I'm Rob Malicki. And you know what? One of the things that's toughest about Year 12 for both parents and for students is just all the pressure that you can feel you're under. And yeah, of course, some of that is the pressure of the exams. But personally, I really think a lot of that pressure feels just like a weight. It's the weight of the future. If you imagine like walking down an uneven sidewalk, carrying a big pile of books that's heavy and they're toppling and they're going to fall, and that's sometimes what that sensation feels like. And that's in no small part because of the idea that you've got to get this ATAR, you've got to get into uni, you've got to get the ATAR in order to get into the degree that you want to do. But what if I were to tell you that there are other ways into university? In fact, not just one way, but many different ways. And in this episode, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about pathways into university. And who better to join me on this podcast than Peter Harris, who's the Chief Officer for Future Students at UTS College. We're on Garibaldi and Darug Land in Sydney. Peter, thank you for joining me on the Choosing Your Uni podcast.
Thanks, Rob. Great to be here and really look forward to the discussion. And you're right, there's just so many other options for students. And I think if we do one thing well, it's to really help them reduce that anxiety and know that there are other avenues. And the ATAR is not the be-all and end-all. And it's not your life's not going to end there, depending on how you go in the next few months, the study. So, look forward to discussing the options and how us and others do that. So
maybe before we get to the guts of that, tell me a little bit about what you remember from your uni experience, like with benefit of experience now.
Wow, it's pre-internet and nearly pre-computer days. It goes back some time. I grew up in Tasmania, went to UTAS, and I was thinking about this inspiration for the podcast and the value of the university degree and how people try and make this decision now about the investment they make in money and resource and time. What I've got out of it, not just certainly was a springboard for my career or many careers, but I've got such great lifetime friendship. I still to this day hang out with the guys I studied with in first year at the university. So it's amazing those connections and following their careers and where it's taken them. So it's not just simply the course content or the statement or the qualification at the end, but it's all the things around that. Our universities back then were a different experience. It was a lot more sticky campus they talk about. Students we spent all of our time with the university socialising and accessing the cheap social events that are on offer. But even so, those connections you make is so valuable and such lifelong.
I'm just going to jump on one thing there, which you said sticky campus, because I know that's been a big thing here at UTS. They kind of went through this phase where students would just come to class and then disappear and go elsewhere. But I know it's been a big focus at UTS, probably like 10 years, to try and get people to come here and to stay around and make the most of their time on.
Yeah, it's a challenge for all universities, Rob. And I think, what UTS has got in its favour is firstly its locations. It's easier to stick here because there's so much around. And we've invested so much in the campus. It really is world class, as are others. But I think it's an amazing experience to be here. Look, students today, it's a lot more complex than when I was studying. Most have part-time work, most domestic students, of course. And the university is part of their part of the mix of it in the social time, their spare time, and the study time. So it's not as easy to spend most of your day there and every day of the week. You're coming and going. But the more we can make it, give it, not just being on campus, do that through clubs or activities or other events, and also make the campus itself engaging and a great place to be, which it is. I think that'll help build those connections as well.
Let's dive into this idea of pathways to university. Now, obviously, you're working for UTS College, which is a type pathway, but maybe you could explain to listeners just what a pathway is.
Thanks, Rob. Look, so a pathway, what it helps the students to transition from high school so that when they go to university, they've got the necessary skills to succeed. So in the case of Australian domestic students, it's those that perhaps haven't made the ATAR result or the result they're expecting to get the direct entry to UTS or other universities. So we get those students and they spend more time with us to build up those academic skills and the technical skills in the chosen area. So when they do transition across, they're ready for the university. And we do it very well. We've got the stats to prove that. Most universities would have a pathway, and those pathways have both international students and domestic students in our case. So there's the university-type pathways. There's also private providers who work in that pathway space as well. And they're around, you see many of them around Sydney. I suppose the third one is the TAFEs and those VET programs. So all of these have avenues for students who come out of high school either straight away or after some time to come to an institution like ours, spend time in our learning environment, make sure that they're prepared to go across to the university proper in a large environment, in that sort of really, the university environment really expects you to be a strong, independent learner. That's how they're structured. So we make sure that the students have got the skills and are ready for that transition.
You mentioned stats. Can you talk to that a little bit? Like the statistics about success rates, I suppose you're talking about?
Yes, that's a good question. Students who come to us haven't had the academic outcome that students who go direct to university. And depending on the university, its rankings, those ATARs can creep up and up. So we tell these students have had different challenges in perhaps their last years of schooling. But what we do well, and when they do go across to UTS, they perform as well as the students have gone in directly. And that's because we're fortunate to be able to spend that time with them. We and other pathways have very small class sizes. So the teachers get to know the students. They have a common and see the students regularly. We've got a really good line of sight where their strengths are, what things they're good at, what things they need more help in. So that when they do go across the university, they perform as well as students who they may have been in high school with or at the top of the class, and these students haven't had the performance they'd expect. When they do go, then they perform really well. Very, very happy about that, and that gives us this part of our mission to make sure those students succeed, and something we take great pride in, as do other pathway providers. It's about really making sure they're ready for that actor and having a time to support their work at their needs.
I'm very glad you mentioned sort of class size aspect to it, because that's obviously a massive difference between studying in high school and suddenly dropping into first year university where you can be in a classroom with 500 different people. It's a very different learning environment. So that's a nice transition for those people, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good point. So firstly, there's a challenge that you mightn't pick up the skills and the subject matter. But I think more importantly, that you build up the confidence to participate in and out of the classroom, to ask for feedback, to give feedback, to be a real active participant. And I think that small class environment, it allows you to build up that personal skills and that confidence to do it. We also really work on what they call nowadays, Robin, you've heard, the 21st century skills, collaboration, that independent learning skills, to be an independent learner, to that critical thinking, because that's what the university expect of you. If you went straight from high school where you've been really supported by the teachers and everything around you into that big university environment, and if those skills aren't up to speed, it can be really daunting. And universities, that first year have a lot of attrition. They have, which all universities have. So we really try to make sure that they're prepared for that. Equally, we look at how we structure the subjects themselves, and we have scaffolding. So we sort of slowly build up the learning outcomes and the learning acquisition for the students, so that they've really got a strong, sound basis when they go over.
One of the other threads I'd love to pull at is you'd mentioned earlier the idea that a student doesn't have to go straight from high school into university. Now, obviously, people know this commonly as a gap year, but then there's also that possibility of taking some time out and then going into a pathway, whether it's a TAFE or into a college or something like that.
And look, mature age students, as they term, and I think mature age is 2 or 3 years out of school. It's not particularly mature, but...
I was talking to one uni up in Queensland, and they were saying a mature age student is anyone that's been out of high school for 1 year.
Yeah, so. And I think, look, firstly, personal view is, a gap year or some time out is a great experience if you can, if your circumstances allow that. So and you come back in with some more life experiences. You're not talking mature as in mature like me, but 21, 22. It's great if you can access that. And universities actually really encourage that as well. So it's a good thing to do if that's available to you. Equally, take some time out to work out what's important for you. I mean, how do you decide at 17 or 18 what your career looks like, what one of these degrees is going to suit you best? Some more time thinking about what the avenues are there and where your passion really lies. And on that, Robert, if you looked at how do you make a decision, I think, again, passion and something you're really interested in and something you're really keen to do well in is something that will really hold you. You make sure you study well and get the outcomes you want. I think listening to another podcast the other day about how you're looking for someone who's great at something, And the person was saying, well, no, find something you're really good at and you're passionate about and you'll work hard at it and become great. So I think for students looking at when they're making that decision, something they really are passionate about, having some time out, having a gap year, having some time to think about your options may help you find out that area you really want to focus on.
Peter, let's talk about some examples. So what sorts of disciplines or study areas can people traditionally do a pathway for? Is it available to every discipline?
Thanks, Rob. Good question. Look, for us, you can go into any major at UTS, with the exception of nursing, and there's the reason for that. But pretty much the pathway takes you to communications, to design, or animation, IT, engineering, business, wherever you want to go. Science, we have pathways or diplomas that take you in any of those disciplines. The one reason we don't do nursing, and UTS are really well regarded globally in the nursing space, is because it's got that practical element, and we don't have the ability to have students, working in hospitals. And so there's an area we don't deliver on. But anything else, you can come to us. And I think most other pathways are similar. You can do a course that will take you into any of the majors at university.
How would a student, and to that extent also like the parents of high school students who are trying to support their child, how would they decide on what might be the best pathway option for them?
Another good question. So pathways like us are connected to the university. So we really structure our program to reflect the UTS first year. So if it's UTS and what the University of Technology do well and are renowned for, and that's the stream you want to focus on for whatever reason, then the UTS pathway is your best offering. So again, if you're thinking of Macquarie or other universities, their pathway is probably the one most aligned to that second year experience and getting you the RPL or the credit recognition for the work you do. So I think that's probably the first area to sort of filter through. But equally, I think whilst we do things very similarly, each pathway has its own style and way of learning and its model. So if you do have time, come and meet the pathway people, meet the recruitment team, even meet some of the academics to learn is how they go about it. The way of teaching and the way of learning is something that sort of would meet your needs or the students' needs and sort of resonate with you. We've invested a lot in recent years with our own learning model. It's very much a sort of practical-based teaching experience. So we don't have lectures in our diplomas. It's about the student doing some work first, coming back and working as a group, going back away and taking on those learnings and coming back again in the same week in the same subject matter and bringing real-life examples into the classroom and case studies in the classroom. So we think that practical way of learning really helps them well. And I think it also talks to the UTS model of learning, which is a very work-related, practical way. So what university and the course interests you most, and then if you have time, speak to the pathway provider and see if how they go about it is something that you think would suit your needs best.
A little earlier, you sort of mentioned the idea of trying different disciplines. Is a pathway program a place where you can try different disciplines? The one I always think about is like the person who signs up for biomedicine was one of the health disciplines and then discovers that they don't like blood, which is not a good thing. But are there options inside pathway programs to sort of experiment with different things that might interest you?
Look, I think yes and no. Really, to make it the most effective use of your time and money and resort, we try and tailor our programs to the university first year. Having said that, there is a lot of crossover between disciplines. So even if you had a diploma in business, you can certainly get credit. You can change streams. Your time is not wasted. It's not wasted. Firstly, you will get some units out of, if you went into engineering or IT, you get some units out of that. But equally, probably more importantly, you've got that great skill set. You've got that great platform to work from. So it's not the best way to do a business diploma and then decide you want to go into biotech, but equally I think it's a good chance to see how well your university studies sits with you, whether you're ready for it, but equally to pick up those key skills, those key learning skills that will take you wherever you want to go. Both my daughters graduated from UTS and it's been great for their careers, but when my daughters was really in that sort of comms, design, creative space, but she thought she wanted to do marine biology and went out and started a degree in marine biology because she had very good scores, but because of her study background, what she was interested in, what she was passionate about, it was in another language. So all that physics and science and maths. So I think you can start and find out it's just not for you. But equally, it's more about learning, that university mentality and the skills and the disciplines, I suppose, that are required of you.
G'day, it's Rob here. Hey, are you a parent or a carer of a student that's thinking of going to uni in the years ahead? Did you know that Choosing Your Uni has a whole bunch of resources just for people like you? And you can find those at parents.choosingyouruni.com. You're going to find things like links to our Facebook community, downloadable worksheets, and heaps of advice by parents for parents. It's all the sort of stuff that you need to help guide your student on their journey to uni and beyond. Check it out now, parents.choosingyouruni.com.
Can we talk a little bit about the structure of what a pathway program is? So what exactly is somebody enrolling in when they enroll into a pathway? You mentioned diplomas a moment ago. What is that? And what are the other sort of structures that the pathway programs take?
Yeah, so we have two programs. One is like the equivalent to the Year 12 program, which is called Foundation Studies, and we don't offer that. That's only offered to international students. Some other pathway providers may have a Year 12 equivalent, but we really leave that to the high schools and the HSC to deliver Year 12. Our focus is on university first year, so diplomas, diploma of business, diploma of IT, etc. That is structured very similarly to the university first year model. We have a reduced offering of 3 trimesters instead of 2, so the students have a lighter load if they choose, and it's really mapped to those first year subjects, but done in a way where again now we've got a much more, not only just smaller class sizes, but we've got a much higher level of student support, study success advisors, 24-hour support online with content matter. So really knowing that to ensure that we're doing the right thing by the students and they can succeed, what are those, given their learning background and how they perform up to date, what do we need to do to make sure that we're doing the right thing by them? So structured about very closely to university first year, but we sort of unpack the course content and repack it in a way that we think suits our students.
Let's talk a little bit about UTS College itself. So we've obviously talked about the fact that each institution has its own pathway programs. You've got TAFEs, you've got private providers. What makes UTS College special?
Well, I think in part it's because we're UTS and what makes UTS special. So, it's reflected brand glory. We're really selling the same thing. We're on the campus here. A lot of our academics teach in both institutions. And we have been leaders in the pathway space. We've been doing this for over 30 years. We're always innovating and looking at how we can do it better. And we take it so seriously, how we deliver on our domestic students and help them perform. At the moment, we'd probably have about 40% of our students are domestic. So it's a really key part of the college mix. Just a slight digression, Rob, but on that, it's really important for our international students and domestic students to spend time together, and that those connections they make with a student from Nepal or Bangladesh or from Pakistan or whatever. So, but yeah, we've been doing it for a long time. We do it exceptionally well. We focus on student outcomes, and we're experts in making sure that those students get those skills that are going to serve them so well. So it's not whether we do it better or worse than others, but I suppose just how we go about it, the intent and the effort we've put into creating a learning environment for them to succeed, and results speak for themselves. It's right here in the heart of Sydney, right here in the Creative Centre, and some of our alumni and people who have come through the program, we look at how they've gone in career success, and it just really reinforces to us that what we do is worth doing and has great outcomes.
How do fees work, Peter?
Good question again, Rob. Look, we charge our fee structures, or the nominal fees, we charge around about $36,000. What I would note is we don't have what's called Commonwealth supported places. So students come here and they normally, they can either pay the fees themselves or they can get fee help. So they basically get a loan from the government and pay it off over time. We don't often talk about cost, we talk about value. And it's not an insignificant amount of money, but if you put it across your entire career and put it across your entire university investment, and if you think, well, if I'm spending that money, if I need to pick up those skills for me to succeed, if I need to make sure that when I do go to UTS or wherever, not only am I going to pass but I'm going to enjoy it and get the most out of it, I think it's a small investment to make, but I'm not discounting the fact that it's a sum of money and you do pay it off over time. We try and minimise those fees, but it's a cost that we have to delivery.
I think a couple of things just to point out there. So fee help is where if you're a domestic student, you can defer those fees and pay them back as your taxes later. And I think what you've said, I just want to hone in on what you just said there around, if you're a kind of student, you're not sure that uni's for you, or you're not feeling like you're quite ready, that could be an incredibly valuable investment, because the world is littered with people who went straight into university, were completely overwhelmed, weren't quite sure what they wanted to do, and have ended up dropping out because it just wasn't for them. So I think that is a really important consideration for people to think about, the fact that then helps get you through more effectively. And it's not time wasted, because it is actually leading you into those degrees.
And I think it also reflects, Rob, the the way we do this, we're having classes of 18 students. That comes with cost. It's on the same campus, it's on with the same facilities, it's on with the same teachers. But really, how do we deliver a product, if you like, an offering of that standard, and then do you ascribe value to that? And I do think it's, I often say it's like the business class of the university aeroplane. You've really got that sort of devoted attention to your needs. And but again, it's a cost. It's a future cost, and many of us make that. We forget about the future cost. But I think it's an investment that's worthwhile if it sets you up for that success.
What about UTS in general? What's unique about UTS? And the declaration of interest here, I spent about 9 months at UTS about a decade ago helping to build one of the leadership programs.
Oh, wow.
Here. So this place is very close to my heart. I love this institution. I really think it punches way above its weight. Fantastic institution.
I think it used to punch way above its weight, and now its weight's up there as well. It's top 100 in the world. And I think it's got a really good mix of being research intensive and research relevant and rankings. But sometimes you don't want to lose sight of, rankings are great and research is great, but what's in it for me? I'm paying these fees. I'm coming here, putting my time in to get my bachelor or postgraduate qualification. They really are focused on graduate outcome, really about a pragmatic, practical experience with industry leaders so that when you come out, you're as work ready as you can be. It's not a job factory, but we don't want to lose sight of, these are careers and people we're setting up for their careers, as well as some who stay on in academia and research. But the vast majority of domestic students are coming in here as a pathway to, not pathway, use the word pathway again, but a pathway to their career and a platform for their career. So I think UTS have got that nice balance of being top 100 university, but really work relevant, practical, pragmatic way of delivering the courses. Very hands-on. The equipment here is just staggering. I was over in the design faculty the other day and watching a 3D machine that did 3D printing. It could scan you and print you a jumper if you wanted to, better than Mum used to knit. So this is the labs and what they've got is just absolutely outstanding. So forging its place in the world, but not losing sight of its roots about it being a work-ready university.
I love the fact that it's so easy to get here. I mean, the public transport's awesome. There are buses running all over the city. The train is literally a 5-minute walk away. I wouldn't bother even trying to drive in here to park. There's no need because the public transport. And to have Haymarket, colloquially Chinatown just next door, the dumplings, the dumplings. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. So part of my remit is the marketing team work with me, and I try not to make them dial up the location too much, but it is a great location. And as I said before, I think something like 40% of Australia's startup in this catchment area. Sydney's unique. I think it's got 3 universities in the top 100. I think there's only 2 other cities in the world that have that. So you've got not a competitive landscape, but a really high quality, all of the universities in Australia, but particularly here in Sydney. So how does UTS stand out amongst the other more traditional and older universities? And I think it's that youth that's associated with the brand. They say it's where creativity and technology interact. And I think that really speaks to it well. It's called the University of Technology. It's not like a MIT or a technology-only university, but how does technology enable everything they do, and how is technology at heart of everything they do? And equally, one of the things that they are proud of is the work they're doing in the sustainability goals, and how we can have an impact on that, or the university can have an impact on that. So I think the academics and the university leadership team and the staff take great pride in that as well.
Maybe finally we can talk a little bit about how you make this happen. So let's say you're a parent, you've got a kid that maybe isn't achieving as much as you think that they're capable to achieve in year 12. They want to go to uni at some point, but maybe directly, maybe not. Pathway looks like a good option for them. What's next? How do they apply?
I think Choose Your Uni would be
You're a gentleman.
a good place to start. No, and I say that it surprises me at times that it's not known, and people I meet through my running club or whatever, and talk about how their children are going, and say, we don't know what the options they are, and say, well, there are options out there, and they think, and these are parents who they can see their child is not going to have some challenges. Even just knowing that there's another option there, it just gives them that relief. Just looking at some of the students who've come through who have done really well. Some have chosen, many choose to come here even though they can go direct to university because they can see this is an environment they need. Some have chosen during their last years of high school saying, well, I could go for these high-rating ATAR subjects, or I can do the ones that I think are really going to be important and important to me. So you've got students choosing these from different reasons. But I think, yes, it's not known as well. I think hopefully we continue to educate the market and educate student counsellors and schools to know that it's not a deficit model. It's a different model, and it suits some students really because of the added needs and they need to build up some skills. But others just take it by choice and think, well, that's the type of learning I'd like in my first year. That's the type of subjects and the way I want to go about it and provide more options to you. So I do think, platforms like the one you're working on is important because, as I say, I'm always surprised that people aren't aware of it, and maybe they're just too focused on the known universities and the known outcomes. And again, UTS College, of course, other colleges, the TAFE options. Take your time and consider what's going to work for you best. Not be stressed now, and be relaxed and enjoy your time in that first year at university. My time at university was just amazing. As I say, the friends I've made from those days still, and I can have such great, fond, vague memories of it now.
And so, somebody literally looking to apply, presuming does that work through the admissions centres? Is it a direct application?
So I think you can certainly go through UAC and the normal avenue. We take direct applications, and we've got an amazing team here that work with through inquiries, through our website, through the normal social channels, through marketing we do, through open days and events at schools, on campus here, UTS Open Day or other university open days. The college or the pathway will always be represented there. So there's a number of avenues. Just and if any sort of scanning, online searching, we appear as an option. And take the time to talk to our team. They're really good. They'll do the best they can to provide all the options to you, whether it be us or direct. And so that when the student does make this choice, it's informed from a number of aspects, from the credit recognition, from the style of learning and the courses they want to do. Please, you can apply to us direct. We've got a really good way of helping works with students and providing more information as we go. And it's a number of touch points. The busiest time and the busiest intake, us and Pathways, is obviously the first semester, the start of the year, as students have got their Year 12 results and then adjusting or reassessing their options. But equally, finding many, many more students are making this decision or inquiring a lot earlier. So that's great to say, okay, even if you don't come to us, at least there's that option there for you.
And you mentioned intakes, so you can start more than just at the beginning of the year.
Very good question, Rob. I'm not doing my job very well at all. We have 3 intakes a year, so one in February, March, one in the middle of the year, and one in October. And again, we have a trimester model. Do it in 2 semesters, if you like, or 3 semesters, or even 4 semesters, depending on how well you think, how long you need to take to get those skills up. You can time it if you start later in the year to catch up, start at the start of the year and be still in the second year with your cohort from school, and you can really decide what suits you best. I think one thing I've learnt in life is that the window of opportunity doesn't slam shut that soon. It's a long road, and whilst you might think I've got to make a decision now and I've got to be there now and I've got to start now, that's not always the case, and making the right decision and taking some time over it is probably a good way of doing it as well.
Just threading 2 things we've talked about together, option of maybe doing a partial gap year.
Yeah.
And then coming in mid-year.
I like it.
Six
absolutely,
months.
Yeah.
So lots of flexibility.
I like that as well, yeah. Have the summer off and, just relax.
Maybe just to wrap up, for those parents that might be listening, I'm sure when I look at my podcast statistics later, I'm going to see the drop-off when all the kid listeners are going to stop listening. But parents that are listening along, what advice would you have? Just general advice. We're going into kids in Year 12 or Year 11 going into Year 12. It's a hard time for parents too, isn't it? What advice would you have for them, just in general?
Well, I think so we talk about reducing student anxiety. I think we're trying to help to reduce parents' anxiety and to know that there are options. It's not the end of the world. They've supported their child through all these years of high school. They've seen how their peers are going, and they might think, oh my gosh, what if they're going to get left behind, or how they're going to perform. Knowing that there are options like the pathway, like UTS College pathway out there, and knowing that they'll give their child the support they need, I think that hopefully reduces some of the parent anxiety, and they in turn don't put that anxiety on the students. So again, take your time, speak to colleges like ourselves, come and speak to UTS College, see what we do and understand the value offering, and I think that'll give you some surety and you'll be able to relax a bit that there's plenty of options out there, and there's no need to make a rush decision or put any more pressure on, and you want your child to enjoy Year 12 as much as they can and make the most of it, because that is also a great year where you make great friends.
Peter Harris, thank you for joining me on the Choosing Your Uni podcast.
Thanks, Rob, and good luck with it all.
At Choosing Your Uni, our mission is to make finding your ideal institution and your degree fun, easy and stress-free. So if you're looking to save some time, to discover more and to get personalised advice for every step of your journey, check out choosingyouruni.com. Our theme music is composed by Pasha Shogi and his band Flow, and this episode has been researched and constructed on Garigal land in Sydney. Until next time, have yourself an awesome day.